Sa dudes, it's your boy Agent Psycho, aka Sniper98. Oh, it's been a year already, would you look at that? And a year's worth of content obviously means more new SSRs. And you know what that means? More salt. It's also time for another dumb how to use every SSR in the game video that y'all like watching every year for some stupid reason. How about y'all go watch videos that actually matter, like Gotcha Salt videos, servant reviews, news updates, and why it isn't Merlin's fault that Quick was shit for 3 years. Well, whatever your reason is, now you're kinda stuck here expecting me to make memes and shit like that, so I guess I gotta do my job as a nerd making YouTube videos about a damn mobile game, so here we go. Since by this point there are so many goddamn SSRs, and it'll only get worse with each year that goes by, I'm going to try to condense these videos so that they're not a whole fucking hour long. So whip out your phones and tablets, grab your memes, and strap yourselves in. It's time to go over all the 5-star servants in Fate Grand Order. King George V is a general use Saber. Use her in fights that aren't boss battles or challenge quests and you'll be fine. Because DW's been on a crusade lately to slowly but surely eradicate all instinct skills in the game, which they should have done at the beginning of the game and not 4 years in, Saba's instinct got a 30% battery. This means that she's now the best farming Saber, replacing Morty in most situations where you aren't also farming Saber faces at the same time. How fitting. And daily reminder that her name is Artoria, not Altria, unlike what that Nasu dumbass wants to tell you. FGO as Bad Civ is another general use Saber, and with a hidden passive that forces you to play her theme song in your head while you're using her or rolling gacha. She's also got some use as a crit Saber, so consider using her as such if you'd like. The unofficial Rio challenge is to have Altera, Helena, Jack, Alice, and Paul all in the same account. Paul's about to show up this summer, so you won't have long to wait. And a quick public service announcement that reading Rio comics can increase your chances of grailing your own Popsicle Sword Girl by about 300%. Foot Fetish Inducer is a crit Saber, Stargen Saber, and single target nuker all in one. Also, being voiced by Yaoi gives her an automatic 2 levels in tier viability. Just kidding, that's Scotty. Just remember that Star Generation should be a secondary role for her and not a primary, since you have way better options for that by this point. Well, what do you mean you don't have a support Merlin or Jack? Monarch used to be the best farming Saber in the game thanks to the fact that she was once the only SSR Saber with an actual battery skill, and no, I don't count Gawain's small dick 20% or anybody else with only 20% batteries that don't fucking scale. But now that DW's finally opened their eyes to the fact that Instinct is a shitty skill and gave her dad a 30% battery of her own, now the only niche that she's got that she's better than her dad at is, well, beating up her own dad. All 15 of them, or however fucking many there are at this point. What do you mean we don't have a caster one yet? Still a great farming Saber though, even if her dad's technically better at it now. Actual Waifu is a hybrid support and DPS Saber who can switch roles on the fly whenever her skills are off cooldown. Too bad she's the closest you'll ever get to having wedding costumes in this game. Another PSA to not have OG Nero and Waifu Nero together on the same screen, otherwise your internet browser may be liable to spontaneously playing Padoru, the 10-hour version that you can't turn off until you've listened to it fully. If you roll Castanero 2, you may develop symptoms of the Umu virus, where you find yourself saying Umu after every sentence. No wait, that's just being a weeb. Best Sakamoto Maya girl is an arts AoE nuker who for some reason was called trash by half the FGO player base because she had quote-unquote low damage output. Thankfully DW hooked it up and gave her an MP buff, and now suddenly no one's calling her trash anymore. Huh, weird. Don't forget that her MP also has an AoE debuff clear for your team, which most of you probably didn't know because you don't actually have her. When's a rerun? Go fucking look at the wiki for once in your life instead of asking people to spoon-feed you answers, why don't you? Yasen is a buster meme, just hit red buttons and things will die, hopefully. If they don't, add a Merlin. If they still don't, add another Merlin. Call me Gordon Ramsay of FGO, I'll be here all week. Gacha statistics have shown that being a cute adolescent male between the ages of 13 to 24 increases your chances of rolling Musashi on any one of her raid-ups by about 120%, and using Udon as a catalyst further increases that chance by another 80%. Statistics also show that 80% of statistics made by YouTubers are complete bullshit, so take this for what you will. Merlin fell off the top of the tier list when he switched classes to Saber, and this is what you get. Another general use Saber, but this time with a tiny niche against gigantic enemies, ironically, wherever you can find them anyway. In any case, being your stereotypical blonde, bishonen anime protagonist looking motherfucker counts for something since he single-handedly provided more content for all the female FGO content creators than the rest of the game combined. For being a bottom tier SSR, that's not too shabby. Thankfully, DW's next anti-instinct crusade gave him a makeover too, and now they've given him what I've always been suggesting in my Toho Grand Order videos, an instinct that gives 30 stars instead of the usual shitty 15. I guess one buff is all you need to make even the guys want to start riding his dick too. AUO is a nuke farmer, servant annihilator, and buster meme. He's the complete package, and he can do it all. Just don't overwork him, otherwise he might turn into a caster. And y'all know how that'll end. Also, another PSA to keep him away from your Saber faces, otherwise he'll be ordering them all for takeout. For all you Mordred fanboys out there, Artemis is also voiced by Sawashiro Miyuki. Yeah, let that sink in. Originally, you weren't supposed to have a teddy bear for a servant, but Artie thought it was a great idea to tag along, and Orion somehow turned into a teddy bear in the process. You can make an isekai out of this somehow, I'm pretty sure anyway. Because of this, you also get shenanigans where female buffs and debuffs don't apply, and male buffs and debuffs do, since Orion's still the original servant and not Artemis. Artemis herself is an anti-male nuker, best used as an anti-Chad weapon system in Camelot alongside Uriel, who does the exact same job as she does, minus about 95% of the gacha cost. And I didn't forget about Tezel this time, don't worry. Sparky Boy's got a narrower but still pretty strong, super effective mod against Earth or Sky enemies, most, if not all of whom are servants anyway. He's also a good farmer with his big boy 50% battery, though his RNG MP damage buff can go suck a fat one. Basically, he's a less flexible Gil with a bigger battery who may cause you to start laughing like a mad scientist every time you use his MP. Curry Boy number 1, aka the spook literally no one wants, who haunts the dreams of all the free-to-plays wanting to roll for a limited SSR archer. If you can actually bother to use him, he's a nuke AoE archer, which, to be fair, he's quite good at, but not much else. In other words, his brother's more useful. Don't tell him that directly though. He did get an animation update recently with Lost Belt 4, but like they say, polished shit is still shit. Squirtle is the Saber who's actually meta by showing off her ass in her Saint Graph and arts memeing everything into the fucking dirt. Everyone loves ass and arts memes. Using food as a catalyst is proven to increase your gacha luck when pulling for her by 400%. I suggest yakisoba, corn dogs, shaved ice, ginger ale, and ham and cheese sandwiches. But then again, 400% times 0 is still 0, so good luck on your rolls next month, I guess. Useless Goddess is actually not that useless as a buster meme and AoE nuke farmer. Her skills get her to the point where by herself, she can easily make her crits outdamage her own MP if you only have her at MP 1. Friendly reminder that you'll probably be using her a whole bunch during this year's Christmas Lotto, and if you don't have your own Ishtar, you better hope that someone on your friends list has her up during then. Also, make sure to routinely bribe her with gems, either with your own Saint Quartz or the ones you buy in some random Chinese mobile game you also might be playing. Dandyman is proof that Raita can draw stuff other than his usual balloon tits and Oni ass. Same with Kintoki too, but we're talking about Moriarty first, so oh well. He's a single target nuker and crit archer, though the fact that he's got the Arjuna problem of having a mismatched deck kinda hinders him. With the buff on his battery though, he can act as an unconditional 40% attack buffer as long as you have 10 crit stars. In other words, bring Annie Blonde or Limit Broken 2030. Lancer Good Civ is a single target anti-divine or undead nuker. Make sure to keep your Gil and Ishtar away from her, otherwise they might spontaneously explode just from looking at her. She's also a quick buffer along with Nyanta, at least before the other Skaha shows up. Her MP gain is so wacky though that an ABB chain is better for MP gain than an AQQ. Other than that, DW should really give her a buff at some point because even JP's starting to forget that she exists, if the frequency of her raid ups these days are any indication. Also, not to mention the fact that Scotty exists. Curry Boy number 2, the superior Curry Boy, is also an AoE nuker, except he's got a useful overcharge as an anti-divine. Use him for all your anti-divine farming needs. Fittingly, this also makes him super effective against his own brothers, so whenever you see an enemy Arjuna, lost belt 4, and you want to get your revenge on him for spooking you on a limited Archer SSR banner, bring Karna. Valkyrie Good Civ is also another single target nuker with her own unique super effective mod against anyone she thinks that she can abduct to Valhalla. If she wouldn't end up killing them first. And no, she does not throw cameras outside of windows at the end of the prep phase. She's also got the rare niche of being a Starweight buffer, which is now basically a slightly weaker Eternal Arms Mastership, but targetable. Friendly reminder too, that Jalter is her precious Onesama, which also makes Jalter the precious Onesama of the other Valks, and that if you have Bryn, and if you don't roll for Zigguard, you're actually wrong. Thick Saber, despite all the other FGO YouTubers calling her mediocre, is a top tier farmer who penetrates the earth with her huge ass spear every time you use her MP. Insert those Earth-chan memes going around the internet lately, and boom, perfect new hentai dojin idea. Thank me later. There are a few challenge quests where surprisingly she can do work, but outside of those, use her as a general use lancer or, like I said, a farmer. Make sure to have Redman cook her rice every day, just like he does for OG. Waifu Lancer is a single target anti-male nuker, as in she nukes their balls by kicking them from orbit. She also drugs you for snoo, but that's besides the point. She's got an annoying stun demerit on her third skill that you'll have to watch out for, but other than that, she's a decent general use lancer with a niche against anyone who's got a dick. And yes, that includes your favorite trap. Clayboy is, like Skaha, an anti-divine single-target lancer, just not as good because he only has that stun that works only against divine targets and no dedicated anti-divine skill or overcharge effect. He's also got a weird assassin deck as a lancer, so you'll have to work with that too. Even still, he's got potential as a soloer for challenge quests, especially in those that do involve divine enemies thanks to his high HP, debuff clear, evade, and massive 10k heal. And make sure to use him alongside Gil for the Babylonia Bro Squad. God's Plan, aka DW's plan for the player base to have a godlike rider farmer, is a top tier farming rider. You can use her as a general rider, but when it comes to farming, at least before Scotty shows up, she's the queen of rider farmers, and one of the best farmers overall. She'll be back on raid up during Agartha 2 soon, so if you've been missing out on the best farming rider in the game right now, maybe get some beer as a catalyst and get your quartz together. Thought Queen is a single target anti-male nuker, basically Tama Lancer minus the fox ears, swap Chiwa Saito for Ayaneru, and swap classes to Rider. She's also a great male buffer thanks to her buffed charisma skill. Make sure to pick up a cool altar plushie from the Aniplex booth at Anime Expo to keep her company, assuming that they haven't sold out of them like they always are, and try not to give her any cheese. Bro Scander is a nuke farmer. Everything about him is unga bunga, and he's got excellent AoE nuking potential because of it, but because of that power, again, he's one of those general use and farming servants. He is, however, a great team buffer thanks to his skills, and his MP damage output can kill enemies that even Drake can't, so that's still something to keep in mind. Egyptian Dio is a utility rider. He's got a charisma and party buff success buff, meaning that anyone with Imperial privilege can actually use it properly whenever Dio is part of the team. His MP also has a defense debuff and MP seal, both of which are also very useful. You may want to avoid putting him and Hans in the same team though, otherwise you may find yourself making ridiculously dumb poses and making motherfucking JoJo references out of your ass. Ketz is like a more offensive Aussie. She drops some of the utility for more buster memes. She's also got a stronger charisma, a targetable buster buff, and defense debuff, although her MP's burn effect admittedly isn't as useful as Ozzy's MP seal. And unlike Ozzy, she can properly use buster crit memes. Using Ketz is also proven to improve your professional wrestling skills by about 50%, and Ketz users have been reported to develop tendencies to spontaneously suplex their devices. The first of the big four, Waver Ramirez, is your go-do-everything servant. Waver, support this arts team. Waver, give 50% charge to the servant. Waver, go slap a demon pillar at the fan until it fucking dies. He's one of the 2 reasons why you'll never look anywhere else in your support list other than the caster class. His versatility mainly stems from his skill set that he can use in literally any situation, whether it's late game or challenge quest content, or just, you know, simple farming. Aren't you glad there's no fatigue mechanic in this game? What do you mean there's Setsuba? The second of the big 4, Fluffy Tail, is your arts addiction enabler. She's the queen of arts teams, and without her you might as well devolve into 0 IQ buster memes. And no one wants to admit that they're 0 IQ unless you're a degenerate memer like me. She's got only limited use in non-arts teams because of her very rigid kit, so she only truly shines when she's in her element. But the teams that she can make have the power to tackle a lot of late game content, so if you have your own Tam, be sure to fluff her tails every day so that you too can become an arts meme. Titmonk is a single target assassin destroyer with a buster MP to boot, so you should know how that'll end. Previously, the joke was that the best single-target assassin killers were Berserkers, since the first 4-star single-target Buster caster will not show up until Salem later this year, so having a proper Buster caster is rather nice. Other than that, she's an offensive caster whose DPS comes from spamming her MP as much as possible and having skills that help her team generate more MP and protect them from incoming debuffs and attacks with a party-wide debuff immunity and taunt. So, if you want to use her seriously, try to build around her. Also, using Sanzo will make you feel about 1000% more motherfucking Genki, so use at your own risk. The DMV is a farming caster with a 50% battery, though she'll be put out of business soon by another SSR caster who's also got a 50% battery and is right around the corner. Rumor has it that she's also got a Rider variant somewhere, though I have a feeling that people just want that version of her for all the wrong reasons. She also has surprisingly high survivability with her Guts, defense buff, assuming it goes off, debuff immunity, HP regen, and enemy crit chance debuff on her MP. PSA that you must be a Rick and Morty fan with extremely high IQ to be able to use Da Vinci to her fullest potential. Ilya is like Sanzo, except with more Buster meme and no team utility cause she's just a kid and doesn't know what adult responsibilities are. Maybe when she turns 18, she'll understand. Other than single target Buster nuking, she's only really good at being cute and tripping lolicon alarms for about half their player base. She can also solo Goetia, but that's besides the point. Keep Chloe away from her, otherwise the subreddit Discord's gonna get that ass banned. The third of the big 4, Cock Wizard, is one of the many pieces of evidence that we have to know that DW sometimes has no fucking clue what they're doing to their own game. Ooh, shiny red buttons. Surprisingly, you'll probably still use wavy lays more often for farming and more general stuff, but it's also kinda hard to say no to a guy who literally has a LOL nope button for a skill for stuff that actually matters. If you're a grill playing FGO, just know that you also have about a 30% chance of growing a dick randomly, so use Merlin sparingly. Thickcaster is a stall caster with a specific niche against enemies with the royalty trait, or in other words, king or queen. This is a complicated way of saying that she's got her work cut out for her, unfortunately. So, more than likely, if you roll her, she'll just end up being eye candy and backline moral support. But hey, at least she's some damn good eye candy. She does get a party guts effect on her third skill later on, which means that she'll be quite useful in challenge quests where you need immediate guts for the whole party in order to survive someone's MP. Though in exactly which situations, only JP knows. Jackie Chan is a star engine. If you want some stars, just click on any of her bright green buttons, and you'll instantly have a pile of stars to nibble on. Or just have two 2030s and that'll do the exact same thing and then some. She's also an anti-female nuker, though unfortunately her damage mod isn't a super effective mod and instead is just a buff. So she isn't as good at her niche as others are at theirs. And yes, she'll still trip lolicon alarms if you don't have her first ascension stage on. 10 out of 10 would get called mom again. Definitely not Assassin Saber has a niche against Saber faces, only 2 of whom she can actually use her full potential against. If you've ever wondered who to add to your trash waifus list, here's another one. She's actually not too bad of a star gen, though if you want star gen from a servant, why go with anyone other than these 2? Her biggest buff would have been just switching her damn class to an archer, but DW will never do that. Sorry Shia, but this dream's gotta stay a meme. Alcoholism Oni is an art staller and AoE farming assassin in case you can't be bothered to use either Phantom or Fuma, or if you don't have Ascat yet. She's also voiced by Yaoi, but for some reason Shuten gets instantly placed in top tier. She'll get you hooked on ASMR if you're not already, and she'll drink all your booze and tell you how shit your tastes in alcohol are. She's also an Asanagi girl in case you're into that. Egyptian Shana doesn't have red hair, but she's got red cards as a buster AoE, which makes her another good farming assassin. And unfortunately, she doesn't tell you Urusai 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 for the authentic Kugumiya experience. Other than farming, she's a good DPS assassin who's got good star gen and MP gen, so with a bit of support she can really bring the heat. Just give her a katana, dye her hair red or black or whatever, and give her a school uniform and you can pretend to have your very own Shana collaboration event. Dark Souls dude is a buster meme, so despite only being an assassin, he still hits like a fucking truck. And despite always talking about heads, he does not actually swing that way. Unless of course it's with this fucking unit of a sword. He's great for general use, single target rider farming, or helping you feel like a badass for being the master of this absolute unit. Just ignore the fact that the artist for his comics that are all over YouTube and the subreddit was originally a Guro artist. Rad Vlad is like Curry Boy number 1, he loves spooking you on Berserker raid-ups. The difference here is that you can actually use him to a fair degree, unlike Curry Boy number 1. Put him in an arts team and he'll go to town, just remember that as a Berserker he'll need some babysitting when he doesn't have his buffs active. And daily reminder that Liz is his daughteru, though Umu might have something to say about that. Good Boy is a single target buster meme and the only Berserker in the game with a 50% battery, which makes him really good at farming single target enemies, and since he's a Zerk, he's good against almost all of them. Unfortunately, as the game goes on, enemies in events and singularities start getting enough HP to the point where you need to rely on true class advantage damage, and Kitoki starts to fall off a bit. But don't let that distract you from the fact that he's still a good boy. Nurse Mordred is a support Berserker, which makes as much sense as Aniplex's NAFGO streams. She was the Merlin before Merlin with her 3-turn 50% buster buff, but now Merlin's pretty much taken over her niche, and everyone's forgotten about her. DW's been trying to make people remember that she's still part of the game by giving her a few buffs like debuff and insta-kill immunity and a buffed MP, but the fact of the matter is that no one's gonna pick her when Merlin is basically Nightingale except better and won't die in 2 hits. Maeve's boy toy is Ku, just as a Berserker. True to his character, everything in his kit is intended to benefit only himself so that he can survive longer and fight longer. And for some reason he sounds more chill than Vanilla Ku despite looking like a ripped fucking dinosaur. Thus he's great for general battles where you can just hit big red buttons all day. And again, reminder to grab your very own Ku Alter plushie if you can, again assuming that Aniplex does not sell out. Kintoki's mom is one of only 2 AoE SSR Berserkers in the game, which means she's pretty good as a versatile farmer. Mom! The meatloaf! She's also a great buster meme thanks to her first skill that later gets a buff to have its own crit buff on top of whatever other crit buffs you give her, so she can now yeet almost everything in the game with thick buster crits. Remember to drink a glass of milk every day for nice and healthy buster memes. Meganet Alter is the more viable MHX. She's cuter, better, has garter straps, glasses, and turns into a motherfucking Sith Lord with Darth Maul's lightsaber. If you've ever wanted a weeb version of Star Wars, this is your wet dream right here. With all of her buffs, she turns into some kind of crit Berserker, though how she goes about it is unconventional to say the least. Just keep her away from Media before she bribes her with food into cosplaying. Or maybe not. Japanese Doomslayer is a nuke Berserker. His gimmick relies on him being at low HP to blow up enemies with big boy crits and MP damage. Set him up right, and you'll start wondering who turned the Doom soundtrack on in the background. There's only one problem. He's a Berserker and he dies in 3 hits, so good luck using his gimmick. For a guy who looks like he's literally too angry to die, he dies pretty easily, so be careful with him. French Toast is a support tank, kinda like Reinhardt, except not German and has a French flag instead of a hammer. Her main utility lies in her NP, which heals and protects the team with invul at the cost of stunning herself for a turn, though her skills usually aren't that useful unless you're fighting against servants in particular. Now that she's gotten her MP buff that replaces the stun with a team debuff clear though, she becomes a tank staller, as if she couldn't have been one before. What's Deus Vult in French? Questionable Catholic priest guy is a challenge quest specialist, mainly because his MP is able to remove all enemy buffs before applying damage, meaning that the only thing a servant can do to survive it is to just have enough HP to tank it head on. The fact that he's also a ruler on top of it all is just a cherry on top. Against servants in challenge quests who really love spamming buffs, this is kinda nice to have. He's one of those late game servants who don't really offer much benefit to newer players who either don't know how to take full advantage of his kit or just don't have strong enough counts where his impact will be appreciated, but can absolutely wreck late game content in the right hands and team. He's like fine wine, he gets better with time, as Semiramis would know. Edgelord had a kit that was so tailored for his own event that he immediately got power crept by the next SSR Avenger that came out only 2 months later, and then 2 years later, Scotty showed up to pull him out of the bottom of the tier list. So now, he's a nuke farmer and avid disciple of the quick memes and their savior named Scotty. Other than farming, well, that's really the only thing he'll have to do, if at all, since if you wanted to use an Avenger for general stuff, why not just use this next one? Burnt French Toast is the OG Buster meme, Buster critting your enemies to death since 2016 in an FGO untainted by Merlin. She also destroys single target Berserkers even though her name isn't Abigail, and she's got some useful synergy with anyone with the dragon trait thanks to her charisma. She's also crashed the Chinese servers and pulled FGO up to the top grossing Mojas in the West because everybody loves having an edgy waifu. She's the perfect example of how much people love it when a good girl turns bad. Flappy Butt is an anti-cavalry single-target alter ego who tap dances on people's faces until they die. And despite what she sounds like, she's actually a good girl who deserves all your head pats and butt rubs. And like Good Civ, she's a top contender for having some of the best emotes of herself on Discord. Unless this next servant has anything to say about that. Topnep is an arts memer, cavalry class farmer, and, like Amakusa, a challenge quest specialist. She's also one of those servants where her impact isn't immediately noticed for newer players, but is strong in the hands of experienced players and accounts. She's also got the best smug emote on Discord alongside Tamamos, and there's the whole thing about her being the lewdest nun in the world. If you like waifus who use planets as their personal dildos, you've come to the right place. And there you have it, all the SSRs we have in the game as of this video. I'm aware that there are SSRs I've missed because either they've just narrowly missed the cutoff time for this video, or some of you may be watching in the future and you're wondering why Scotty isn't here without looking at the date of this video, in which case, that's your own damn fault for not paying attention. Thanks for watching, hopefully I didn't forget anyone like I did last year, and until next time, deuces.